Yeah, there hasn't really been a lot of slashing this year in season slashings, hasn't it? Sorry, but after Christmas Horror Story, I was pretty much just done. If you really want to, you can throw my early, unscripted review of Terrifier 3 into this marathon if you so choose. But I'm not I'm not doing any more Christmas horror movies this year. Sorry. Instead, we're going to do another Nickmas marathon. And we've already talked about a couple. Let's talk about another one. This one pertaining to a little sea sponge that lives under the sea. Yes, I know I said that we were done talking about SpongeBob for the year until 2025, but turns out there are even more Christmas episodes of this show, and I decided to make an exception to my done with SpongeBob for 2024 rule because we're actually going to talk about a much more modern episode this time. Instead of talking about season 5 or 6 of the show, today we're talking about season 13, a more recent season of the show, and one from a season that I actually have not watched the entirety of yet. I've seen a couple episodes, but I haven't really dived into the full season yet. I probably will at some point, more than likely in February when I take my time off, so. But for now, let's just talk about this episode that I actually was lucky enough to see. And I actually caught this one on TV a few years back, and I really liked it then. I actually really like it now. And I know it's a little bit of a controversial opinion because everyone thinks that everything modern SpongeBob is garbage. No, not everything modern SpongeBob is garbage, guys. Come on. Like, give it a chance. It's actually a lot more clever and fun than you think. That and this episode itself is just a lot of fun, so I wanted to take this time to do a quick little review about a cute, fun little Christmas special. And yes, I know that there is one in season 8, which I'm reviewing next year, but I'm going to save that one for next year's seasonal marathon. It's probably not going to be a horror one next time because I'm kind of out of good Christmas horror movies to talk about and I don't want to torture myself, so I don't know. I'll figure it out then. But for now, let's talk about this episode and why it's really good and it deserves your watch. What's up, what's happening, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Anime Station. This is a friendly animation, including a sponge that lives in a pineapple under the sea, as well as TV and movies. I'm your host, Justin Soul. Welcome back to Season Slashings 2. Welcome to the start of our home stretch Nickmas marathon, as I like to call it, because we're almost done. We only have a few more reviews to do for the year, and then we're done. So, without further ado, let's dive into Season 13, Episode 5 of SpongeBob SquarePants, titled SpongeBob's Road to Christmas. Let's start by talking about the basic synopsis of the episode. So, SpongeBob leaves a present for Santa underneath the Christmas tree to tell him how much he's grateful for him. But Santa, in his goofy antics, ends up knocking it behind the couch and he never gets the present. So with the help of Patrick and Plankton, SpongeBob journeys to the North Pole to get him his present. And it is in July. Yeah, they finally did a Christmas and summer joke. It's been, 10 years since Gravity Falls, so good timing, I guess. But this story is actually plenty original, because I can't really think of another episode in an animated series where the characters leave a gift out for the gifter, but the gifter doesn't get it, so they have to go and give it to the gifter. Like, that's a really interesting idea for a SpongeBob episode, and since this one is another double-length special, it works. Now, obviously, it's no Christmas Who. Nothing they ever do will ever top Christmas Who. And, yes, It's a SpongeBob Christmas is also superior to this episode. But I still think that this is a great and unique and just all-around fun little holiday special, and I want to talk about it with you guys for a little bit. So, here's my written review. I know this isn't a different format than my other SpongeBob reviews, but it's because I want to stay consistent, and I've been doing a lot more videos in live action lately. So, without further ado or delay, here are my thoughts on SpongeBob's Road to Christmas, and I hope you guys enjoy. This is probably a pretty controversial opinion, but I honestly don't think modern SpongeBob is that bad. Sure, the characters are more over-exaggerated than they used to be, and it's not quite as great as the first 4 seasons. And yes, at times, it can get so off the wall that it can feel like a chaotic Ren and Stimpy-esque acid trip. One of the reasons I'm not reviewing that show, it's just too crazy for me to talk about. But it still has its clever moments. The animation is very bouncy and creative. It is way more high quality than it used to be. And it can still be quite hilarious. Like, sure, it's not as funny as it used to be, but this show and this episode in particular are still plenty funny. So, I don't know, I still enjoy SpongeBob, even today. And while this one isn't as good as Christmas Who or It's a SpongeBob Christmas, this is still a pretty fun special. The jokes are pretty funny, especially Plankton's interaction with the buffed up reindeer, which just cracked me up. The story is plenty original and doesn't feel derivative. The cameo, yes, there is a cameo in here from Patchy the Pirate, was pretty cool, since it's the first time we've seen him in 2D animation. Because in the past ones, we've only seen Patchy in live action. Like in Christmas Who, he was the wraparound segment that told the story. In It's a SpongeBob Christmas, he was 3D stop-motion claymation animated. But in this episode, it's actual traditional 2D animation. Now, yes, traditional is a loose term nowadays because it is very modernized 2D animation, but it's still 2D animation nevertheless. And it's still really cool to see Patchy in this style. Yes, he looks a little weird, but he's fine. He's pretty cool, and I do think his design was very unique. And I do like how it actually ties into the plot with SpongeBob and the gang accidentally ending up in Encino, California when they're trying to get to the North Pole. Like, that's pretty funny. Please excuse my guinea pig. I don't know what's up with him today. Oh yeah, another funny joke I forgot to point out. When they're at this area and Patchy gives them a map and a compass because their GPS broke, Plankton gets crushed with the compass, of course he does, by Polly, and Plankton's comeback is Polly wanna smack her. I know it's a dumb pun, but it's just too funny. I find this episode very, very funny. I don't care if that's a controversial opinion, I enjoy it. The journey to the North Pole itself is really fun. The final act is wonderfully chaotic, with the elves and the reindeer battling against each other while the elves are also trying to get SpongeBob, which leads to all kinds of chaos. And the ending is pretty cute in a sort of dark, twisted way. And what I mean by that is how it ends with Plankton. I'll talk about how it ends with SpongeBob first. So SpongeBob manages to get the present to Santa, and his big present to Santa is thought to be the Krabby Patty secret formula, because it's in that same kind of bottle with the same cork. And of course, Plankton, being there, thinks that that's exactly what it is, grabs it and prepares to run away. But then he opens it and he sees that it's not that. What it actually is a note that SpongeBob wrote to Santa, telling him how thankful he is for bringing joy to all the people and sea creatures in the world. Like, that is so adorable in character for SpongeBob. It just makes me smile every time I see it. And of course you have all the bits with Patrick being obsessed with candy canes. It shouldn't be funny, but it's funny. And then I say it ends in a dark, twisted way because it ends with Plankton causing chaos once more, as the next year comes by, it's Christmas again, they're having a party at the Krusty Krab, and everyone's getting Plankton nothing but coal, but SpongeBob gets Plankton a picture from their adventure that they got with Patchy and Potty, and it says that he knows one day he will destroy them all. Which leads to him using all that coal to fuel a robot and cause chaos as the episode ends. Like, people say that this show isn't funny anymore. I'm sorry, you're just wrong. This show can still be hilarious. Just not as funny as it used to be. And that's okay. With a long-running show like this, just it being funny at all is a pretty astounding achievement in itself. So, it's a cute ending for SpongeBob, and it's a funny, dark, twisted ending for Plankton. And then Patrick's just there. He's just there to be the comedic relief. But he's not being a prick in this episode, so he's definitely better than he is in mid-season. We'll talk about that mess in 2025 when we get to Season 7. But it's not quite perfect, though. This episode's not perfect. It does have its problems. Some jokes are pretty hit or miss. Like, there are a few moments that I don't really get. Like, all the buffed up reindeer. I mean, it's funny for a few seconds, and then it kind of just drags. Like, yes, it's not Toddler Titans, where it openly insults the reindeer to their face, but it's still just... It's a stereotype we've seen done before in this show, so it's getting a little tiring. The elves are one-dimensional. None of the elves have actual character. They're just caricatures. Even though the lead elf calling them trick-or-treaters with their water helmets on is pretty funny. I'll give it that. And some of the writing definitely feels a bit off from the narrative it's trying to tell. Like, sometimes it feels like the writing's trying to derail from the story just for the sake of a joke. And you can kind of tell when it happens. It's a little weird. Not to mention, we start the episode with a lengthy sequence of SpongeBob crying. Yeah, that's always a pleasant addition to any episode, right? We'll talk more about it when we get to Season 7 in June of 2025. And as stated before, the characters are very over-exaggerated. They're nothing like their former selves, which is what bothers a lot of people nowadays. And it is very off the wall with its overall style. Like, people like to talk about how this is a good show to watch when you're getting high. And I can kind of understand what they mean by that when I was watching it. Because, especially in these more modern seasons of SpongeBob, which is seasons like 10 to 14, they really get over the wall, off the wall, and just acid trip nuts with a lot of the imagery. And it is, it's great to say the least. Like, it is legitimately great. But all minor gripes, really. This is a pretty fun special, and while I haven't had time to watch the entirety of Season 13 yet, I do have a good feeling it'll be among my favorites of the season whenever I review it in many years down the road. So, yep, it's one that's worth checking out for a very entertaining and unique holiday adventure with one of our favorite cartoon characters. Sure, it's not the most amazing, emotionally powerful thing ever like Arnold's Christmas, but it is still funny, charming, and a lot of fun. I think you guys will really like this special, and even if you're not the biggest fan of modern SpongeBob, give this episode a try. I think you'll really enjoy it. Yes, it's not going to be for everyone, and it is very off the wall nowadays with its style and its overall comedy, but I think you'll really like this one. And as a huge SpongeBob fan, I always really enjoy this one. So, yeah, I've seen it about 3 times now, and I've enjoyed it every time I watch it. It's one of the stronger modern episodes, and I think it's one you definitely need to see. So, yep, let's get to the final verdict now with all that said, which is going to be a 15 out of 20. This is a great episode of the show. It's a great episode of this modern era SpongeBob. And if this is what I have to look forward to when I review seasons 10 through 15, I think we're going to be in for something really special. So, yeah, it's a particularly special. It's a lot of fun, and even though a lot of it is gags and comedy, it's really good gags and comedy. Check this one out. It'll definitely give you a fun and unique holiday adventure you won't soon forget. Okay, now we're done talking about SpongeBob until 2025. So, thank you guys so much for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more videos like this almost every single day. And I'll see you guys next time when we talk about our next Nick Miss Marathon special episode, Christmas Every Day from the Fairly Odd Parents.
Soon forget, so listen and you won't regret. Be true to yourself, don't miss your chance, and you won't end up like the fool who ripped his pants.